On the 11th of July, a VLCC calls the Antifa terminal outside Le Havre to discharge a part cargo of 150,000 metric tons Arabian medium en route from the Arabian Gulf to Rotterdam. Both charterer and cargo owner is Shell. The vessel is already behind schedule due to a delay in the Suez Channel. Both the local agents and a cargo expediter from cargo owner Shell are on board, in addition to the usual terminal staff. So, it is a stressful situation for everybody on board. The working relationship between the captain and the second officer is not the best, and the present situation on board makes it even more strained.
What about the passage plan?
Passage plan is ready.
Yeah. Okay.
How about cup of tea?
No, no tea, no coffee, thank you. What is it? We proceed here according to last information that we filed. Passing these two buoys, and then we have to alter course to starboard and proceed to destination. You can change this plan.
Good morning, second. How are you today?
In the engine room, the chief engineer is waiting for spare parts to arrive on board. These are needed for an overhaul. The chief engineer has detected a problem with cylinder number 4 on the main engine and needs to do a decarbonation and change the piston rings as soon as possible. Going through the stores list received from the managers, the chief engineer cannot find the piston rings listed. He calls the captain to make him aware of the situation and asks him to double-check with the local agents.
Is it possible you to check the piston rings to come with the agent or somebody else?
Okay, I call you back. I check and call you back.
Thank you very much. Bye.
As the captain sits down to place the call to the agents, he sees an urgent email from Commercial Operation in Glasgow regarding the next possible cargo.
And ETA to Bonny Terminal, Nigeria.
The captain postpones everything to attend to this new challenge. It's a very tight schedule, but the freight rate is extremely good, and the operator in Glasgow makes it clear that he needs quick feedback on this issue.
Okay, it will be 25 of July, 2200 local time.
Okay. Chief Officer.
Yes, Captain.
Please come on the bridge right now.
Captain, I cannot come because I'm in the middle of cargo calculations at the time.
But it's very important. We have to make some calculation cargo intake for the next voyage right now.
Okay, Captain. As soon as I finish my cargo calculations, I will come to pick up the voyage orders.
Okay, okay. As soon as you finish your calculation, please come on the bridge.
Okay, Captain.
In the meantime, the second officer, who is on the bridge to prepare the passage plan to Rotterdam, has detected a problem with the 3-centimeter radar.
Why you told me about this problem? Am I have to fix this problem, yeah? It's my responsibility. You have to call the electro officer first. And then you told me about it.
At 1400 hours, the pilots arrive on board to prepare departure from the terminal.
Now. So, tugs are ready, you make fast the tug, and we start to let go after. Because we are on a hurry, we have no time to lose.
Yeah, I can stand by, man. Fore and aft, please take your places and stand by for the receiving tugboats.
On giving the order fore and aft, the second officer detects a problem with his radio. But given the situation on board and the short time available, he decides not to go back to change the battery, hoping to understand the communications from the bridge based on his experience. The captain would like to discuss the passage plan from berth with the pilots, but the pilots insist that it's not necessary, as long as it is straight ahead to open sea. The captain stresses that it is company policy to go through the passage plan, but gives up on the matter when the pilots are unwilling to discuss it. The two French pilots take the con, and all communication between themselves and the tugs are in the French language. Neither the captain nor the chief officer are happy with the social atmosphere on the bridge. After leaving the port, the chief engineer calls the bridge to inform the captain of the problems they're having with the main engine. There is a high scavenging temperature and low compression pressure.
Okay, please tell him. Thank you very much. Bye.
But the captain does not inform the pilots about this situation. The chief officer is also experiencing language difficulties with the French pilots. He's uncertain of the instruction given by the pilots by going east of the fairway buoy. But instead of approaching them, he asks the captain for help.
I don't know who can understand this pilot. You can check it again. Yeah. If so, you can check with the pilot.
None of the officers are comfortable with the climate on the bridge and do not feel confident to take up the issue with the pilots. The pilots are aware of the situation and the lack of communication. So on their way to the helicopter, they repeat their instruction to be sure that it is correctly understood. They instruct the second officer to report this to the captain. The second officer does as he is told, but his radio, even though having had the battery changed, fails yet again.
Yes, this is bridge.
You instruct me near the buoy number Lima.
You should come on the bridge very fast and change battery, please.
Почему такой мокрый дрем, бля? Это же опасно.
As a result of the situation on the bridge, the second officer lets his frustrations with the captain spill over to the messman, who is washing the stairs in the accommodation. He is accused of making the stairs slippery by using too much soap. On a walk on the boat deck later that day, the wiper, by coincidence, notices a crack on the aft top block of the port lifeboat. He contacts one of the ABs about this.
Там на блоке трещина, надо ее заварить.
It's not for me.
But is told, in a harsh manner, to inform the second officer. But as he approaches the bridge, seeing the captain there, his courage fails him, and he decides that his information is not that important. He leaves the bridge to return to the engine room. On the morning of the 13th of July, the tanker anchors outside Rotterdam, expecting an 8-hour wait before the pilots embark. During this waiting time, the plan is to carry out decarbonation of cylinder number 4 on the main engine. But the ordered piston rings have not arrived in Le Havre. Subjects for the next cargo are lifted, and it's very difficult for the captain to go back to operation and ask for extension on Lacan in Nigeria. The chief engineer confronts the captain with their options: wait in Rotterdam for the replacement piston rings to arrive and lose the next cargo, or change the piston rings with the used ones which they have on board. Both of them know the worst-case consequence by using the old piston rings. But the captain feels that the first option of losing the next cargo will be received even more negatively at the ship manager. The captain does not want to be left alone with this decision, as he feels that he is in a no-win situation. He calls his ship manager and explains his dilemma to him, asking for his advice. The technical superintendent is reluctant to take a decision and asks if they do not at least have 2 new piston rings on board. He tries to contact Frontline for their input. However, the fleet manager at Frontline is in a meeting and not available. They are now overdue for when the decarbonation of cylinder number 4 should have commenced if it's to be completed before the pilot arrives. The captain has to make a decision. Faced with the two alternatives, he instructs the chief engineer to start the decarbonation and change the piston rings with the used ones. The second engineer is checking in the stores if he can find at least 2 new piston rings. The pilot arrives on time, but the overhaul is not finished, and they have to wait an extra hour before they can proceed to Maasvlakte oil terminal in Rotterdam. The pilot does not let this bother him, and after briefing with the bridge team, the vessel proceeds to the terminal. The pilot is keeping the bridge team informed of his plans and actions.
But then you know what is going on.
Course 115.
115, thank you. Half astern, Captain. We have everything under control when it is less than 2 knots. Tessel weer even stoppen. Tessel half.
Maar еще 2 метра надо.
Ясно.
The next day, the vessel leaves the port of Rotterdam, heading for Bonny, Nigeria, at full speed.